You're on.
Time being 6:30, I'll call to order the Tuesday, November 13th, Tilton Planning Board meeting. Does everyone have their October 23rd minutes? And have you had an opportunity to look them over?
I have, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of October 23rd.
I'll second that.
No, but she can second it in. Okay. That's okay. Okay, do we have any discussion on that? We have a motion and a second? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Two?
Bishop and Ms.
Oh,
Alden?
okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, planning board case 18-09, continuation of site plan review. Proposal from Mark Bourgeois to expand the existing MB tractor business to include additional outdoor equipment storage areas and associated stormwater management controls at 10 Bittern Lane in the regional commercial district. Matt.
Good evening, board members. My name is Chris Moniarski. I'm an attorney for Summerhammer Realty. So as you mentioned, we're here for site plan review. This application was filed, I believe, 3 or 4 months ago now for some existing pavement, and we did receive a couple of pages of feedback from Keach Nordstrom, the board's consultant. That was back on June 21st, and we addressed those comments, I think, generally to their satisfaction in submission that we have dated October 9th, that I think the board received right around that time. So I think everything's covered, but if you have any additional questions, we're certainly happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can we have the applicant just do a review of the changes and for the record?
Sure. You have a plan that is just one sheet, I believe, right?
Yes.
Is that right, Andy?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at that plan, you see sort of a shaded crosshatch area, and that is the pavement that is not on the currently approved. And that's the only change. Also some bioretention areas for runoff to give it some pre-treatment before following the natural flow to the ice house pond. So it's essentially about pavement.
That's.
at the site plan, I don't see, it shows that the maximum lot coverage is 75%, but I don't see what the lot coverage would be if this extra paving would be done. I also don't see a delineation from the pond up in the upper left corner for a setback. I don't have any measurements. I'm going to assume that's 20 feet, but we discovered according to our zoning it should be 100 feet.
The delineation is shown.
This is just board discussion.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking a question.
No, we're just discussing among the board at the moment.
Okay.
How you holding the cap? So,
What?
how you holding it? When you say upper left? So like that.
Right side, the pond up in the left, that's,
Oh, that little one. Just one right here. Make it happen.
the pond here.
Oh, yeah, so it's one.
Baskin Bezel's up here.
So, okay, so like this.
So right there.
Yeah, okay. This is- I just look at that upside down.
It's upside down.
That's gonna get in the middle. We started that one.
Oh, you know what?
Are you looking at the site
I
plan?
was looking at the wrong one.
Oh, the topographical. I'm looking at the site
There
plan.
we go.
So, and I'm looking at the engineers, our engineers, Keach Nordstrom's, and he talks about that in zoning matters, one. I also don't see any dimensions for these fire retention areas that are proposed. And the current parking lot, if, on this site plan, if this heavy dotted hash line is supposed to represent the existing, it doesn't. Because the parking lot, the pavement extends beyond the driveway, because there is a trough that comes right down out of that driveway. And I apologize, I don't, it's on my computer, but I do have a picture. Okay, so this is depicting what's actually there.
This one you say is not correct depiction?
Well,
Here's some input there.
I think, yeah, I think the heavy dotted line demarcates what has been approved in the 2000 approval. So
I guess it's.
indeed, there is pavement beyond that. They're trying to show, I think the heavy dotted line inside of that is what was approved. The cross or the shaded area outside of it, I think, is what is existing and what's being addressed through this site plan review process.
So the shading is what
Yeah,
is violating the original. So I think the topographical on the back actually shows that trough there. Coming down into that, it's not currently, I think that's one of the proposed. That's, it currently just dumps into the ditch.
Now, did she determine that was on theirs or the neighbor's land? I know we've gone back and forth with that.
This trough here was
This one?
on this property. This is, and I don't see it on this. There is a spring that isn't addressed on this. It hasn't gone away in the, 2 years that it was discovered by, members of the Conservation Commission.
Do we have anything from Conservation Commission there?
Not recently. I believe there's no conditional use permit that's been submitted on this yet, so they wouldn't have gone for that reason. Honestly, I can't recall if they've been before a Conservation Commission on this case or not. Perhaps the applicant could help with that.
Oh, I can speak now? Okay. What are we talking about going before the Conservation Commission for? For what?
She was just asking whether this particular site has been reviewed by the Conservation Commission. I was saying I couldn't remember this.
This particular site has not, because there was a question as to whether or not the wetlands delineation was shown. It is shown on the revised plan that was submitted in response to the questions posed by Keach Nordstrom. So that's in the top left. You can see the delineation is with a dashed line near the little vegetation marks that typically identify a wetland. And then you can see another dashed line that follows that same shape. That is the 20-foot setback. So we're not within the setback there. So I don't think there's any need to go to Conservation Commission when we're not within the setback. With respect to the coverage ratio question that was asked, that was also in the notes and still is in the notes under the zoning analysis portion of the plan, which is in the right-hand side in the middle. You can see there's a 75% maximum. We're at 68% and change, under 69%. And then as far as the spring, that's actually groundwater, which currently flows to Ice House Pond. And under this design, it's in the bioretention area, and if it overflows, again, it flows to Ice House Pond. So what we have here is an improvement of the natural conditions, but ultimately the same end result with some added pre-treatment of that water, whether it's runoff or groundwater.
So our engineer identifies the setback and our zoning does from that pond is 100 feet. So we have to deal with that, which is why I'm wondering why it didn't go to Conservation Commission. And because we have Ice House Pond here, and with all these wetlands, it usually goes to Conservation. But we have to deal with that 100-foot buffer around that pond.
That pertains to Ice House Pond, that's what the engineer is saying, not the wetlands to the south, which is in the top left corner of the property. Those so-called wetlands are actually just a man-made retention pond. When it was made, I don't know, it was a long time ago, but there's no 100-foot setback for that. That's basically a man-made puddle.
Would you mind coming and,
Sure.
as you're talking about the property, areas?
Yeah, so Ice House Pond is here,
Yeah, okay.
and then the other pond that Chris was just talking about is up here. I think technically it's on AutoServe property.
All right,
Between Pizza Hut, my building, and the old Agway building, it's been there for,
okay.
So that dash line is the 20-foot buffer.
Making sure I follow it.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity.
And the spring, if you don't mind. Spring is on the upper left.
It's just groundwater.
No, it's- yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
it goes
actually-
into the fire.
right, it emerges right about, where the end of that line.
But it's something we can do.
There's a culvert, I think, that leads across the street towards the car wash is, to the post office there. That's where it goes under the road.
Oh, okay.
Just like I saw the pond was, it's just, it's been there forever, it's just a organic pond, nothing to do, I never did it, it's always there. But when it overflows, it bleeds into the other side, across towards where the car wash and the other thing is. It's like outside pond goes across on that side. One's on one side of the bitter lane, one's on the other side of the bitter lane.
Okay, all right.
I don't see any snow storage anywhere.
applicant go through this letter and address these items while we're waiting and reading? Just under the general comments and the suggestions that are made.
Okay with me?
Sure. Do you all have the October 9th submission from Novus Engineering?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's where we addressed it for the written records, and that's what I'll be going from. I'll try to skim through quickly and not read it because that's going to be boring for everybody, I think. The first comment had to do with delineating what was additional, what was previously approved versus not approved, and that's what I started with in the presentation. What was not approved is the shaded area. So that's you can see it from there, that this is what is not approved in the previous site plan. General comment number 2 was with respect to an AOT, or an alteration of terrain permit. 100,000 square foot threshold triggers the need for that. Here we're talking 42,000, so there's no need for an alteration of terrain permit. And I understand, I think the engineer did not have the calculation of area at the time, so that's why he asked, but we're less than half of the threshold there, so there's no requirement for an AOT permit. Do you want to go through all of them, or just the general?
I mean, it's not that many, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
We have time.
That's completely fine. So the zoning matters we were just talking about, number 1 was a question of showing the wetlands delineations and the setbacks, and where your consultant, Stephen Keach, pointed out that there's a 100-foot buffer around Ice House Pond. So we've shown that, as I was explaining, around both the detention pond to the south, which is the top left of the plan, and that delineation is also shown to what I guess is northeast. Let's see if I can point it out for you, probably a little bit easier.
You want to talk about this one?
I'm already here, maybe. All right, so you are, kind of hard to see on this map. Right here, this dashed line. It follows here.
That little tiny one.
Here.
Really?
There's a lot on this plan. I have a color one that we printed that might make it a little easier. I can give you.
Is that 100 foot, is that dash line?
That's the 100-foot, yes. Colored, but we can highlight it a little easier. I think it probably black. Oh, sorry, you have a highlighter perchance?
Yeah.
Eric, that's fine.
Sorry.
I think it's that.
Thanks.
Anytime, sir.
He started.
So am I highlighting the buffer?
The 100-foot, yeah.
Oh, you're way
Yeah.
up.
Way up.
It is. My fault.
So it looks like I see.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Those are the bases. Across here.
I know.
No, obviously not, because it's approved, it pertains to
All
this.
right, here we go. You got it?
Yes.
Later, Brian.
And it just stops at the very.
You can keep the highlight.
Budget season.
Yeah.
That's it, probably.
Oh. said under zoning matters, in addition, they would appeal limited area commercial pavement of the secondary. They have some intent about 100-foot buffer.
And if you read that zoning matters number 1, it says to bordering wetland and surface water pond. So the only thing that would be under the buffer is open water. You don't have open water if that pond is on the water.
What is that, 400,000 square feet or what? What else was it new back?
It says adjacent to open water and wetlands is 24,000 square feet. So. So.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for education. Teaching works.
So,
No, that's not this.
Oh,
you wanna,
do you want to keep going? Sorry. The rest of the matters were pretty much ministerial matters. For instance, they wanted a stamp from a surveyor, so we did that on the revised plan. Number 2, under planning and design matters, again, identifying the abutters on the plan, we did that. The ownership, the boundary survey data, I believe we talked about that, where we had an existing survey. No lines have changed on this property for, I don't know how long, a very long time, so we submitted a copy of that existing survey as well. The last bullet point in there was the same really as the first question, to define the extent and current condition of existing and proposed improvements. So that's what we did with the shading for the cross-hatching. The shading is what is proposed, as we're calling it, although this is already done. Number 3 had to do with the identifying the wetlands again and having the soil scientists stamp it. So we provided that on the revised plan, but again, this is just a formality of requiring certification from the person who did the work. So we put that in there. Number 4 had to do with the stormwater management. Your consultant concluded that the design and the calculations worked and suggested that our engineers do a field visit to confirm that everything's in working order. Novus Engineering did that, and that was in our response that they concluded everything is in working order. And then number 5 didn't really ask a question, but instead, I'm not really sure what number 5 is asking, but the gist of it was that there was previously some equipment parked on non-paved areas. Now that, of course, was the reason all this paving was done, to get that equipment off of the dirt and grass areas. And what this letter and maybe this application doesn't consider, but I'm sure this board is aware of, is the adjacent property and the application that went with that, which also will have storage area to remove equipment from any of the non-paved areas. So I think if I'm reading that suggestion correctly, what Mr. Keach is saying is that if the board would like a condition that equipment not be stored on non-paved areas, the board should put that condition in this site plan approval. What I'm saying is we've kind of already done that anyway, so it's fine to put that condition in, but that's essentially the whole reason we're here anyway, was to take the equipment off of the non-paved areas.
There is currently equipment on the non-paved areas this evening. They must currently.
So-
On the non-paved areas.
what he's saying, if I'm listening correctly, is that they build the outbuilding so that wouldn't happen, is that?
Right, the 18 Bitter
Yeah.
Lane, the property in the back, is for storage for this business. So
In the
that-
past, my original site plan approval, 18 or 15 years ago, I go back there right now, but I think I was told I was allowed to store equipment, as long as it was new equipment, on unpaved areas for display purposes. as you can see, AutoServe has cars and trucks on lawns everywhere, on every piece of property they own, and no one's, no one's got a problem with that, right? Yeah, every, which I don't care, it's their friends on that. But anyways, I think if you store new equipment on unpaid services and display purposes, it's okay. So it's, I don't even have, technically I think I'm all right there, but anyways, the new facility and redeveloping the property, some changes over there, it's gonna alleviate a lot of that problem, give us some space, because we just ran out of space again, really happy. We were okay then, now we're just gonna get tight, so then we did those things, made a little room, and then it just moved some more. So, back to where we were, 5 or 6 years ago when I put more asphalt down. And the other reason why some asphalt in front was done was because we were getting rain coming down where the dirt was there in that spot, and every time it kept coming down and clogging that pipe at the corner of our driveway that went across to the, to the drain, the culvert that's there. So every time we kept digging out the culvert. So we're putting down the pavement there instead of the hard pack. It alleviated the problem. We made a little paved swale for it, and there's no more erosion there, and it doesn't clog up anymore. So that was part of what we solved there too, we did that. Those two reasons for why we paved it there. It was already hard and flat, so, but,
Have you been through the sewer commission yet?
Well, this property is not getting any new sewer, but on the other property, yes, we have.
So there's no sewage on this property at all?
It's already existing
There is,
and
but it's-
connected.
This property's been in existence and use for a long time. So I guess technically the answer is yes, at some point it probably would go through the commission, but not under us.
Where do you plan to put snow storage?
Where are you putting snow storage, Mark?
what's up, so what?
Snow storage?
What do
Do you have a space that you're going to put it in the event of,
Wait, right now? At my current property?
It's not on the site plan. That's
Oh,
one of the things we asked for
I'm
on
sorry.
the site
Was it on
plan.
the old site
So
plan?
if you could show us where it's
I'm
going
sorry.
to be.
Was it on the old site plan?
I wanna say it was, because we talked about it a lot.
Well, the old site plan, which I have in my hand, there's a lot of gravel area, and it doesn't show this existing detention basin and treatment swale that takes up a lot of area, so you can't put snow there. But on this site plan, they would have been able to store snow all in this area.
that would still be a valid area to put it.
It just gets, a lot of times it's stored on the outer edges of the pavement where we have our equipment now. It's on the lawns and the stuff, on the edges, wherever, it's, just to the perimeter. It's on the perimeter of the
And what do
property.
you do with it when you don't have any more place to put it? Because you can't push it into these wetlands or detention basins that are around your perimeter, or into this one of water here. And you can't push it across the street. So what will you do with the excess? Depending if we have a heavy snow
Right,
year.
I just, I'll haul it off or bring it out back to my other property. If it gets to be too much, we'll just.
So that needs to be shown on the site plan.
The fact that it's going to be hauled off.
What's going to happen to the snow on this site needs to be on the site plan.
Do you want a note saying it'll be hauled off? We can do that.
Or kept on the
Right now,
paved
we're just
areas,
small
or
quantities will stay in the outer perimeter of the property.
kept on the paved areas.
What's that?
You said you were gonna keep it on the paved areas, or
Already, yeah.
move it to the other site, correct?
I can move the other side by too much,
Okay,
and I
so
can't
that
get there.
should be on this site plan.
Do you want a note to that effect? We can do that.
What on the, left-hand side of this print I'm looking at, and I'm looking at the updated site plan, are those two little quarter circles with the circles in it, is that landscaping?
These right here,
Yeah.
they,
Is that
it looks
landscaping?
like trees with gravel underneath.
Oh, that's what I'm wondering, is it trees and shrubs, or trees and grass? But I don't have any legend to tell me what it is.
Now, if you look on the other side, I believe, Kathy, you have what these areas right here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't tell me on the other side what they are.
yeah, on this one, it says, oh, on this side, sorry. If you look here, it says crushed stone.
Oh, is there a third one I need to look at? Mine says, next to that, it says chiseled box on newly sided concrete light pole
Right, but
base.
underneath that, there's a legend on the right, and there's 3 little circles. Those are
Deciduous trees.
thank you. And then underneath that,
Oh, along, I see the deciduous trees, but I was just curious as to
it
the,
says crushed stone.
that's shaded, so you think it's crushed dough?
Based on the legend, doesn't fit landscape area. Could be, but let's see.
And there's no setbacks on this plan. They're on the old plan, but they're not on this plan. This looks like the pavement is extended beyond the boundary. Right there.
Okay.
It's definitely on the setback.
Tricks on this one here. The Ryan Ford plan has setbacks later.
Existing conditions and demolition plan. It should be on the site plan.
Yeah.
There's no building proposed here, so that's why there's no setbacks here.
Oh,
The
The
Your
zoning.
asphalt is in the setback. In fact, up here in the corner, it looks like the asphalt is over the boundary.
No, the asphalt's not over any boundary. The building setbacks are what is in the Tilton zoning ordinance, if I remember correctly. Am I wrong on that, Derek?
Well, so if you look under the setback regulations, actually, I'm just gonna go right from the zoning ordinance here. It talks about items that may be exempt from setbacks in residential districts. This is commercial lots proposing any items other than size and setback areas are required to obtain a variance from the ZBA. If such a variance is granted and if exercising the variance, blah, blah, blah. So that's, now So if someone were to consider the paved area structure, and they would say that's a structure that's in the setback, then that would, according to the zoning ordinance, that would require a variance.
Does the zoning ordinance have a definition of structure?
It does, but I don't want to go too far down that because, so the purpose of, anyway, yes, it does define structure. Although the word used in the zoning ordinance is items. I mean, so the actual, it doesn't say structures that may be exempt or commercial lots proposing any structures. It says commercial lots proposing any items.
Well, so do we have, so there's some ambiguity there. Do we have other places in Tilton where we're considering pavement within building setbacks? 'Cause I thought for sure your zoning ordinance says building setbacks.
It just says setbacks.
So everywhere in Tilton considers the pavement as part of the structure?
I mean, so if you're asking, are there many instances in Tilton where there's pavement extending into the setback area, then the answer is definitely yes. There are many instances where pavement extends into the setback area.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's very atypical to consider pavement a structure. And it's almost impossible to have pavement that is not within the setback because you need a driveway.
You have to access the property, yeah.
So I think that's kind of a stretch beyond what a normal person reading that would interpret it to mean.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to open the ordinance and actually read the language from
Yeah.
it, yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, it's been a while for me, but I think it would be hard to conclude that pavement triggers setback requirements when by the very nature of every single property that has a paved driveway, you are for sure in the setbacks.
Right.
If you're accessing a public street with your paved driveway, so I don't think that interpretation works.
Well, I don't know if that's right, so.
No, no.
That's correct.
The second one, yeah. Yeah, there was this one, all of two. I don't remember there was an issue with setbacks. I don't remember how it was resolved.
Is it setbacks? Goes back, I remember that was wetlands and.
No, it was on the left side, because there's a driveway and there's a setback.
That's right.
Remember?
I did.
I can't remember how it was resolved.
Well,
That's all.
So would the equipment be allowed in the setbacks?
Well, that's a good question to discuss. What do we do with the auto dealers?
I mean, that's.
Because remember, we've talked about on Route 3 how close the auto dealers are to the main roads, and their setback.
We did that with the county.
Yeah, we should allow, I mean, I think it should be structure-based, meaning a building. That's
Well,
what
one
everybody
thing-
mostly interprets it
They'll have to remove everything away from Bittern Lane because you can't impede the snow plowing operations of the road. But it is, I don't know, do we allow the storage or display of that equipment in the setbacks?
If I may, this whole thing with the site came to me because I bought the land behind me and doing another site there. So the thing that came up, obviously, I had to pay an engineer $5,000, through you guys to review the 18 Brick Lane site. In doing that, somehow he got involved in the 10 Brick Lane site with the $5,000 I paid to review the 18 Brick Lane site. But anyways, the most important thing to you guys was the fact that there was some additional pavement there that wasn't originally approved in my plan. That's the biggest issue. And then you want to at the same time address the water flow coming off the property, going to Essos Pond, that was previously approved by you guys, the state, and everybody else, because that's the way the design was written, and I conformed to it, and I did it. So, let's not get so crazy and go after every aspect of everything. Let's solve pavement
That's our
problem.
job, is to go after
What's that?
every aspect. That's our job. We're site planning the site. It's our job to make sure that we go after each aspect that's in question. We can't just say, oh, we just want to deal with a 100-foot buffer tonight. We have to make sure to protect our town, that we are doing our due diligence in keeping within our zone.
I gave you guys a whole bunch of packets of paperwork about a month and a half ago to do due diligence on, and no one's done a thing about it yet. Okay? So let's, all play that game, right? But anyways, I want
Would
to
you
work
like
with
to
it,
state your
let's
name
just
for the
not keep
subject?
chasing new things and people want more cans and more cans and more cans. You got a lot of open cans all over the town everywhere, okay? Let's try and keep it smooth, cordial, work with each other, but if you guys start grabbing everything, I'll start grabbing everything everywhere too. And I can go real deep, I don't know how much money I spend.
Are you threatening us, sir?
I'm not threatening, I'm talking nicely. I didn't threaten your word. I
Doesn't
said-
matter what the tone of voice is, it's the content. If it's not germane to this site, let us not discuss it tonight. Let's work on this site. We're working to try to make it that you can have your business as you wish to here. So let's keep working towards that goal. We want businesses in our town. So let's allow us to go through the process to get there. So like I said, we've allowed every auto dealer on Route 3 to be in the setback, so how can we tell him he can't be in the setback?
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he's very well can part his things if he chooses.
I think if we don't have a definition for structure, then.
We do have a definition for structure.
But is it vague?
No,
Does it say items or something?
Yeah, right. That, my point was that the definition of structure may not be, something that we should all glom onto, since the word used in the setback regulation is item, not structure. One thing I would remind, the applicant has indicated being amenable to acting on Keach's last note there about not having items parked other than on pavement, so that it does at least address some aspect of vehicles not just being anywhere.
that's what we're trying to discuss.
Okay.
For
I'm
display
saying,
purposes.
I think that's why I was making a comment, saying,
Yours is to the point.
okay.
So, that's where I'm going. The word. So my next question is, if we're gonna allow, this equipment to be within the setback, how do we keep it off the grass area? Because it is currently and has been on the grass area.
I mean,
Did we just say that he was amenable to not display things on the grass or on a
I don't
non-paved
think,
surface?
well, like.
We need the display areas.
Where?
I don't, I'm sorry, but you can't misconstrue what I'm saying. We do this a lot, and if the idea is gonna be, don't talk when we're putting words into my mouth, I can't do that. I need to clarify what's being said. When people are saying I'm amenable to something, I need to clarify what I'm amenable for. That's pretty reasonable.
So noted. Continue.
So, continuing on this line of questioning and dealing with this, how do we keep equipment off the grassed areas and onto the paved areas?
Can we
Because
just
that's,
make it a condition of approval?
okay.
does it on the other map?
We just put it as a condition of approval.
Somebody making a list?
Sorry, can the applicant just clarify what he means by that? What exactly are you intending with that grass area?
We have certain grass areas that are used for display, but in the context of the discussion that we were having on item number 5, your engineer had raised a point that there is a lot of equipment on non-paved areas. Now, much of that area is paved, so what I said was this is kind of a moot point right now, but we're not saying that we can be amenable to never parking anything on the grass. That's a right that you're taking away from us that, as the board just discussed, everyone else in town uses, and we can't agree to that or be amenable to it, and it won't hold up in court. That's not fair.
Yeah, that's when I mean.
We are making a major effort to take things off of non-paved areas. We paved a lot of it, and we built a whole other, or we're in the process of building a whole other site behind it.
No, I mean, if we want to eliminate cars on paved areas, we've got to, that's a big item of discussion for us.
So here's
We have
the
to have, like,
thing,
a
you
workshop.
can't go backwards with zoning. If planning boards have made the mistake of allowing people to park equipment on non-paved areas or whatever, then that's been done. We're site planning this property, not John Bernard's property, not AutoServe's, we're site planning this property.
Right, and I'm saying.
And
to
I've
be
gotten that
consistent.
ruling from the local government center. The recognized mistake has been said you don't perpetuate the mistake, you go forward.
How is it a mistake?
So, other than new equipment is stored on this site, I have pictures of oil spills and whatnot, and oil moving down off of this site into the wetlands. That's what I'm concerned about. There's used equipment that's leaky, the stuff, you know, it's hydraulic fluid, there's all kinds of things. So,
That's not the same as saying we're not gonna allow equipment on, to be parked on grass.
so do you say no used equipment on grass?
I mean,
Well, how
I
do
don't
you
think we should
Fine with
go
me.
there.
So you just,
Okay, that's what you
I
want.
think in the past, that I told you, I think 15 years ago, I was told that I could have new equipment on grass but not used, which is not uncommon. Because new equipment, you know, brand new, I don't have a problem with that. And with a new site, with my new building in the back, I'm gonna have more inventory back there, and I won't have to be jammed on the lawn. The idea to have equipment on the lawn typically is, it looks nice, it looks good, you go to the John Deere deal, that looks good, everybody does that in our industry, yes. But the idea is to keep a bulky inventory on the lawn, no, that's a problem, I run out of space. So I'd rather have some space in between, it looks nice, you can mow around, you can do whatever you want, you can move it off, that's fine, I prefer that anyways. I don't wanna store large quantities of equipment on the lawn, no, I wanna get away from that. I need more organized, more spread out, I need room to breathe, that's the goal. But when I get cleaned up, I will have it on the lawn, it looks good, you can pull up, you can see something here, that looks good, but I don't wanna have a ton of it on the lawn, no.
but there's a solution to that. So what I was gonna add to that is, perhaps code enforcement could check quarterly to make sure you no used equipment on the grass, that's what you said, right? And, I think that takes care of that,
I
doesn't it?
don't know why that has to go in the site plan.
No, the code enforcement part.
It's just,
That's a condition of,
that's just
it's just like,
internal.
that's just like checking on,
That doesn't.
detention ponds and whatnot.
It's just like.
We have a review of that. All right. So now we're gonna show snow storage, right? And what do we do with the body of water up on the left?
So my question is, if there isn't snow storage listed on this plan because it's not a building plan per se, is it listed on another site plan already? 'Cause I thought we had that
I thought we
listed.
had discussed
I
it.
thought we had that, and we,
Well-
we went through with this whole thing before, didn't we?
This is the proposed site plan. They said you said that you would add those notes to the site plan about snow storage, correct?
We put a note on the plan.
So that's not an issue.
Okay, I'm just curious if it's already listed somewhere else and then it's not consistent.
Not that I can see on any of this.
I'm just,
It needs to be
I
on
think
this
the
site
currently
plan.
approved one has snow storage, but it's fine. I mean,
It needs to be on the
the
current.
final
does,
plan
yeah.
is going to be submitted to be signed anyway, so
it's
it,
just,
we can add
making
it
it
up.
up, that's already somewhere else.
Right.
Snow storage.
It needs to be on what's submitted for sign.
Do you have something?
I was gonna say what you guys said, that I think the simple solution to that rather is to just request that they have the plan.
Yeah.
Are the two bio retention areas on the left-hand side of this connected by a swale or by pipe?
A swale.
A swale. Is it all gravity flow into it?
Yes,
The top one especially, there's no piping into it?
correct.
Okay, I see on the top side, there is a catch basin and that is drained into the one on the right?
There is an existing catch basin that does drain to the existing detention pond on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's also through a swale down to the next one, the one on the right?
Yeah, if you can see, there's a sort of a flow arrow
Mhm.
line type.
Yeah.
So when water leaves that detention area, it travels through a swale, and then there's another pipe at the bottom of that that goes under Bittern Lane and outlets to Ice House Pond.
I have a question. Looking on the, next to the main entrance, you show a gravel area where the upper new bio retention area flows down into that one. But where does that water flow? Because it doesn't show it connecting to the drain that goes underneath the lane there.
There is actually a pipe, so you're talking about right here?
Well, I see here, there's a little bio retention pond,
Yeah.
but then there's a culvert that goes underneath here.
Correct.
I don't see how these two are connected.
So eventually the water will fill up to a certain point, and then it will naturally connect.
What will prevent it from flowing over Bitter Lane? If that's, is that Bitter Lane? Yes.
That is Bittern Lane. I believe the Bittern Lane is slightly higher, and obviously we don't have the right to grade to formally connect those. I would have to check spot rates to make sure, but the intent is that this would spill to here and go into the culvert. That's essentially what happens today, because all this water comes down, and this whole strip here is gravel, and then makes its way into that culvert.
Can you go back to the one on the right? Where it comes down to the, I guess it's a gravelled area, I don't know if it's a bioretention, right there.
This,
So the dark arrows show it leaving that via a swale, right where it goes in to
yeah,
it.
this is, it actually goes to this pipe.
Okay, so those arrows are
So this
incorrect.
arrow line is incorrect.
Okay.
It's just indicating that it flows in that direction. to
Okay,
Ice
because
House
that's what I was saying, I see a D to me that looks like a drain pipe.
You're correct,
Okay.
right.
So those arrows should.
So actually, that arrow should extend to that
Okay,
inlet of
so,
the pipe, and it would flow via the pipe.
so
underneath it.
you'll correct that on the,
Yeah,
okay, thank you. No changes with the lights, the outside, exterior lights, your outside lights, there's no changes, no additions, nothing.
We're actually going all LED.
Pardon?
Makes you happy, we're going all LED.
Oh, but you're not adding any new, right?
No, no, no.
Okay.
It's not.
Yeah, we'll have to.
This isn't to detail,
That
this
is
is
not
just,
state.
but I think, I don't know, what does everyone think of them? As far as I'm concerned, as long as it shows it, that we
That's
can.
fine for me too, but I think
Yeah,
the
I
question
think so.
earlier.
Well, it was drawn by an engineer and I'm not one, so I could agree with it.
Exactly.
It's about retention.
Yes, it kind of has a nice detail over here.
It gives us sufficient
I think so,
information.
I agree with this question earlier.
Do we have a maintenance schedule or for the bioretention?
No.
No, it's grass, they said it ended up actually being grass.
So you've got to clean the litter out of it, you've got to make sure they continue to work, so usually we get some kind of maintenance agreement. You write something up?
Yeah, we can do that.
I think, I haven't even seen one myself, but when I asked them about what it was, the other engineer, they said, basically, there's very little notice that it looks slow, but it said it's actually grass, and the grass is actually what filters and treats, so all you do is you just mow it as you know you mow your lawn. It's not something we're gonna be collecting like a deep pocket, I guess it's more,
Right, there's a shallow ponding area, so what you see would really just be grass.
yeah.
With this trash, pick it up.
Yeah, but if there's trash or sediment or anything like that, you want to clean that out.
Yeah, if they're not maintained after a while, they don't work anymore. They become salt ponds. Well, closed, yeah.
What about, how do we put something to protect oil from falling into the ice house pond? The oil, does our oil water separator, have to be put in
Well, this is all gravity flow, so no, there's no drainage, so I don't know how you would do that. And it didn't go to conservation.
Yeah, we brought that up.
I recall in the past having discussions with folks from Novus about, they explain that the bioretention basins themselves offer a certain amount of filtration. And I don't know, I can't speak with much more detail than that at this point.
Is the driveway pitched in such a way that the water sheet flows over towards that, or does it go down towards Bittern Lane?
Say probably I'd say maybe a portion of it, but at the very point of intersection, that's gonna flow over Bittern Lane. But the upper portion would flow off to the side and make its way into the bioretention area.
You mean the driveway?
Yeah.
So that's probably the most vulnerable area, but I don't know how to fix it. Not an engineer. It looks like everything
It's
else
like all the water.
pretty
in the
well
lane
gonna flow
flows
into.
the ice house pond, the road itself.
Pardon?
I'm saying the road itself, Bitter Lane, all the water that hits Bitter Lane goes on ice house pond, goes to the lawn, ice house pond. It's where all it is. Everything on Route 11, Route 3 was also there. All those ice house pond over there.
You do have 4 feet of filtration. If you look at
Yes.
the bioretention detail, it's
Yes.
pretty substantial.
If it becomes a concern, I'm sure somebody will tell you. If the oil becomes a concern, I'm sure you'll hear. Is there anything else that?
The only thing I would say, based on what I'm seeing here, we would need to have additional ADA spaces.
Well, we're not really, but this isn't we're not doing it for site plan review in that way. We already did that.
Did you hear what he said? He just would like you to check the ADA requirements and make sure they're sufficient.
1 for 25 spaces.
So they would just add another spot.
You have to have a handicap space, 1 for every 25 spaces.
Has to be annexed this way, right?
One of them has to be business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's two there.
Where's the second one?
It's on the other side of the one, it's two together.
They're just not labeled on the
okay.
plan.
The one that's on the right of my entryway to the building, there's two that are there together. Maybe it's just not.
They're just not labeled on the plan.
Oh, I did get
Right,
it.
'cause we're
They
just
were.
doing.
But there are just lots. And it has a sloped access to it also.
So what do you think of the body up there? What do you think of Kitchen Restaurant? Right in front.
Surrounding wetlands, I'm thinking they're talking this whole area, because it's not all pond, there's some wetlands around the pond. That's how I read it. Right, or saved resources, wetlands,
Bordering, wetland.
and surface water, I think he's talking about this whole area, when I read it, that's what I think. This one, it talks about bordering wetlands and surface water at Lighthouse Pond. Kathleen asking if that includes this pond area up here, or this is on here. I said I think it is wetlands surrounding this pond here. So how do we address this? That's a concern.
It doesn't,
That was definitely open water.
But it doesn't the size of,
Doesn't have to. It's not what I wouldn't.
any size adjacent to open water. If not, what's it adjacent?
we're discussing wetland or zoning matters.
But there's, I think he's talking,
And it's like, he's talking about ice.
So this is open water.
surrounding this area. I think
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
what I mean, I don't know what
But I
to do
don't,
with it.
this concern is addressing this with the bigger area.
Oh. Well, yes.
This is the top.
Yeah, we can't, I mean, we could do what we did to the other one.
I mean, the meeting was 20-foot setback. How is it addressed when this other construction occurring on this side?
It wasn't in the ordinance.
It wasn't addressed, it wasn't an issue.
It wasn't an issue because it wasn't an
So I
ordinance.
think that we need to this wetland. Maybe like, I mean, we could go to the
The pond that by Pizza Hut isn't even on your property, correct?
Correct, it's not on.
These are caffeine.
Make a motion to approve.
Um,
Oh,
I think we know there's no public
Oh,
here,
I'm
right?
sorry.
No, it's,
Back to the public.
We kind of did, but we didn't.
You were opposed to the public.
oh,
You throw your info.
go ahead, Eric, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did everybody hear that? Yeah, this is public here, okay.
can I start over?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve planning board case 1809 with the following conditions. I don't have the list.
Only new equipment number one.
Unpaved areas.
Get that down?
Yes, thank you.
Show snow storage, note that snow in the excess will be hauled away. Correct the swale to the pipe. Right over there. And maintenance agreement for the bioretention area.
So in terms of a maintenance agreement, do you want what we would typically put together for stormwater for any site or as a separate document or a note? Or
Separate document, show how, usually we ask, how often should be done, and then any reports that are generated should be sent to land use. Land use.
Okay, we have, oh, I'm
Check
sorry.
on the snow thing, we talked about pretty efficient run off to the exterior of the property and then remove it.
Okay, snow in excess.
The snow storage isn't allowed in any wetlands or retention areas.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Who seconded that?
Jean?
Okay, thanks.
Jumped on. Mr. Sassa, you have brought us people.
Right.
Coming, coming back.
Keeps fighting us. Yes, Mr. Sassa, speak to us right now.
Okay.
So our site plan review talks about what's required in the site plan review, it doesn't say site plan.
Didn't I just see
Is that in the application?
parked in front of
What you would say, yes.
What's that? Yeah, so that's what I'll say too.
Yes.
I remember I was talking to the plan did, that's actually what they were originally, they want to talk about their whole plan. So, well, I think these guys, I just want to let you know what's going on. So this is,
Boy, we got an agenda that's
what's that? I didn't do anything.
That's not on the
I mean,
agenda. That was right on the agenda.
I'm not sure. Somebody else said, I don't know what they did.
Tell you what's happening. I'll just walk.
I'm not sure what.
Like the Beatles,
What's that?
like the Beatles in the early days.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
This is the, that's right.
I haven't been, I combed it this morning, I don't know. Since then, I haven't done anything with it. Okay, so yeah, you got, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. We don't have a planning board number for you, so.
This is conceptual, right?
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
One second.
yeah. So is this all we have?
This is folded in a nice way.
You've got these
We
little
don't have
pictures.
any plan or anything?
Right, and that's not what we're looking at right now. I just wanted to get that in your hands. That's next.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's not necessary. Okay. All right, I'm so excited.
Good evening, my name is Chris Gaida, and I'm a certified wetland scientist and soil scientist with Fieldstone Land Consultants, and we're working with Wes Coleman of my box of central New Hampshire. We're just here for conceptual. This is the lot. You're all probably very familiar with the My Box. This is the lot next to them. So the My Box facility right here is right here, and this is a vacant lot next to them right now, which is mostly grass, a little bit of woods out in back, but mostly grass. So this proposed building here is essentially it's kind of an extension is what we're looking for with the My Box. So there would still be storage as well as this would be an interior storage and also provide more of a central location. They're seeing some pretty high demand for the My Box right now. This gives them an opportunity to expand a little bit in the future, also provide some interior storage, climate control, as well as some office space and have more of a headquarters type of thing for central New Hampshire. This right here is, obviously it's not graded out, it's really just a conceptual, but we're proposing this stormwater management area would be down on the lower side here. The driveway here, this is a driveway location which was proposed on the subdivision plan, which was approved in 89-90. There's an existing sewer line. Right in this area, we believe there's some ambiguity as to the exact location, but it does service the golf course here, and then it comes across and heads down to the back here.
Is that a private line?
As I said, there's some ambiguity to that.
Private line?
Yeah, I think so. I think this services the golf course.
Mhm.
So we may or may not be able to tie into that depending on what the access is. There's plenty of room here to also have an on-site sewage disposal system as well. The wetlands here are shown on the top of the plan. This is the same kind of swale that again abuts the other side here. They're fairly localized in this low area, and they head back to the railroad tracks. So really, that's kind of what we wanted to do, is feel out the board a little bit. This is essentially the same use that they have over here, so it would be a special exception. to allow that use as far as storage inside the building and potentially some outside storage. As you can imagine, when someone rents a My Box, they're using moving or some sort of facet. So a My Box is great for storing your stuff. You can't put a boat or a trailer in one of them. So there is some demand for perhaps a temporary storage for someone's boat as well as their My Box facility unit.
Unrelated to really the site plan, but just out of curiosity, you say business is booming, and this is mainly your businesses, temporary, people are using it for temporary storage when they move, for instance, right?
I
I'm wondering,
believe-
what is all the, why is this sector
You wanna speak to that,
so
Liz?
populated?
Spot.
Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean,
James says it's summer homes.
I don't know.
And we have the U-Haul place across the way, this place, you're expanding, and there's another storage place, and
I think there's,
storage down near the Belknap.
yeah, I mean, this is just hypothetical, but I mean, I think.
Americans have too much to jump.
Yeah,
Too much stuff.
yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, fair enough. I mean, we're all probably a little bit guilty, you have that corner in your house, your basement, that it's too good to throw away, but it's not good enough to use, and,
and the economy's doing pretty well, so a lot of remodeling going on. It's a good way to get people's stuff out of their home while they do some remodeling.
Is that the bulk of your customers?
A lot of it, moving, remodeling, we service a big area, so the Lake region, there's people that are moving into the Lakes region. I mean, houses are selling, but New Hampshire seems to be doing pretty well, and we service 80% of New Hampshire out of that facility. So I'm driving at 90,000 miles on my first truck, so we're driving everywhere.
It worked really good when you sell your house and you haven't found a new house, and then you go move in with your mother,
Yeah.
and you put your My Box in the yard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes my
You've
neighbors,
you've
right.
heard.
Yeah,
So, yeah, social service.
it looks really nice in the yard too.
Oh, well, thank you for using us.
Yeah. It's not me, it's my neighbors, but
Okay.
it's, yeah. They're hoping that My Box moves soon when they buy a house.
yeah.
Because they'll
Well,
move it.
you know what, the nice thing would be customize My Boxes, so you
Tiny
can
houses.
like have a camouflage one,
There
if
you
you want
go.
to put it in
No,
that.
you should make them bigger so they can put their stuff and
Cluster
themselves.
My
in.
Boxes.
Yeah.
They would have to go through DOT on this, right?
The
Yes.
Right. And he said something like approved in '89, and I know
Right, so
that
this,
road's a lot different than it was in '89.
yeah, that was, this subdivision was, that's when that was approved, and this was the driveway location at that point, but any new use, basically the change, goes through DOT or DOT permit.
Just because I like to stir the pot, and I don't know if this is the right place to say it, but is there any way to connect the two lots?
Well, I mean,
The bridge.
yeah,
I was gonna say, doesn't that
I
go
mean,
down? and
generally we
then-
try to avoid
Helicopter.
wetland crossings.
Well,
So,
I don't know what the exact specifications are, but I believe you have to have 400 feet sight line, and I don't think you have that looking to the left.
right. Yeah, I mean, again, this was approved, approved lot with the DOT at the time, so, I would assume, well, I can measure.
30 years later, the road's a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, this is 40 scale, man, so we only need 10 inches here. I mean, this is going uphill the whole way, and it's obviously, there's 10 million miles of sight distance this way. This goes down, this goes down. and
I
then
travel it
up
every day.
here. Yeah, so this basically we need 10 inches, so this is a continuous slope that goes up here. The crest of the hill is not till over here. So I believe we have the 400 feet of sight distance.
The only thing I say to make sure, because you've heard
Oh,
us
yeah,
tonight,
no,
is out back, if it's gonna be vehicles, you've got the lake down here, you've got wetlands right there, so
right,
be
so.
very cognizant of that.
Right. Yep, and we went through the zoning and the approved uses in there. There would be a special exception, but as far as the storage goes, I mean, this is right in keeping with, I believe one of the other allowable uses is like I got it over there, but there's a bunch of different uses as far as storage of boats, RVs, things like that. that's kind of what we know we need a special exception, but we wanted to get the board's feel on that. And again, it's really obviously the same business, the same use. This one will just provide some additional inside storage space. Climate control is also a big thing now with the storage. So there's a lot of molds everybody's concerned about, with good reason. They can definitely wreak havoc with your belongings as well as your health. My wife just happens to be highly sensitive to molds, and I can't go to tag sales anymore or bring anything used into the house, so everything's new.
If you have ventilation equipment, I think we'd want to be cognizant of the neighbor that way.
His neighbors to the back.
To the
Yes.
back because I know when we had a storage dump on the other lot, the banging, I was thinking, now you're a little closer maybe, and I don't know, I'm just guessing, that maybe stored. Well, when they had storage dump here, they had an issue with the banging of the
The
dump.
snow
The dump
That
truck.
was
Right.
no.
When the tailgate would slam, now I'm just thinking here with ventilation running, if you have climate control, is that going to create a noise for that neighbor? That would be something.
No.
I just try to bring up
No, I
things.
No.
That makes no difference, it's no different than any AC unit on a store.
Well, you're up, and he's a little lower, and this is actually a little closer to these homes.
Does the
Because
U-Haul,
Noise Rose is right down here.
does U-Haul have,
Which,
They're further up.
which homes?
or do they have, they don't have.
Noise
Yeah, they're
Road
fine.
is down
Oh,
here.
yeah.
And then you have,
There's a
probably not gonna
vacant,
bother this one,
there's a
but
vacant lot here, right now. There used to be an old house on this lot over here. And then
actually,
it's gone now.
yeah, the farm was kind of where your building is.
Well, it was
The
actually,
billboards are on that lot your hand is on, isn't it?
I think it's actually, yeah, here.
Those where the billboards are.
Right.
The farmhouse is where that is.
I don't think so.
Okay, so I live across the street
Yeah, I just wanted
from
to,
my box, and I've lived there for never mind how many years, but I'm telling you, the farmhouse is there. Because I used to plow their field for
all right.
garden
You
for
win, I was
them.
gonna get,
So,
I was gonna get.
I win.
Back to that Doyle?
But you do have homes to the back,
Yeah,
and one of them is pretty much at the same elevation as you, because the road rises up to him.
yeah.
So you might want to be cognizant, I don't know what the decibel level is, any equipment you'd run there. It's certainly not going to be as loud as the tailgate slamming.
Yeah,
I
no,
heard
it's
that
there's
at
not
night, too.
really any, there's
It's not
not
gonna
really
be
any.
that hour of the night either, that was what the problem
That was
was.
an
Excuse me?
The snow was an hour of the night they were doing it.
Oh, no, it's all day long.
You know, right?
It's
And all
been, if
night.
there was a blizzard, it would be during the day, you could hear it.
But it would be all night too,
So,
so they're not gonna do it all
Just be
night.
cognizant of your decibel level when you're.
Yeah,
when
but,
you're-
I mean, yeah,
designing
we will be,
it.
but there isn't, it's not, it's just a building.
I don't
It's
know.
not like there's,
I don't know what equipment's involved.
well, it's just the same as the My Box, so it's basically.
Oh, well, I don't
My
hear
Box.
the My Box.
Right.
That's good.
I don't, in fact, I don't hear any of the activity on the My Box.
Right, so same thing.
Nothing.
All right, did you
You're not
have
gonna
a
hear
comment?
Yeah, I had a couple. So I've heard a couple times it's the same as what's going on next door, but it's different, right? There's a building.
Building, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the height? What's the height going to be of the building?
I think it's gonna be, the units are 8 feet, right, and they can
Yeah.
stack three,
Three
so
high.
24 plus
Then
6.
Time for the boom, right?
Right, so
Okay.
34.
Yeah, right around there, 30,
So
30.
so this is a building where those units are undercover.
Exactly, so
Okay.
it'd be like, climate control storage, where we go 3 high.
Oh, so this building is climate controlled.
With our My Boxes in it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
If you go online and look up pods, that's how pods does it.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So they can plug
Okay.
your pod when you
It's like a boat storage,
Yeah.
for lack of a
Cool.
better.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, the warehousing height would be roughly like that.
And if you look at 36 feet, Tilton Sports Center, Dead Center's 36 feet.
All right.
It's not Tilton Sports Center.
Another, just a point, you will be going for a special exception, but it'll be different than I think the special exception you went for last time. We've added a new category to the charter permitted use of self-storage facilities, which again is in the RC district that does require a special exception, but just so you have that in mind.
Okay.
It's not gonna be an identical application.
Right.
And then lastly, question, maybe you haven't gone this far, do you plan to treat the roof runoff?
Typically, we do as part of, the whole stormwater management.
You do, because it seems unnecessary.
Well, when you say treat, usually it gets collected either
Yeah.
in, if it's a complete straight runoff, there'd be like a drip edge, with a crushed stone where it allowed to infiltrate. The other option is to do that as well, but also pick up with a perforated pipe and maybe have that channeled towards the stormwater detention area, so.
Okay, the reason I'm not sure how AOT exactly handles it, but to me, it seems that running clean water through a treatment, through the same treatment that you would run parking lot runoff from, seems like an unnecessary step and could potentially, reduce your ability to shed water from the site because you're running clean water through a treatment system.
I agree.
Okay.
They do typically want to infiltrate it, and there could be a separate infiltration trench, along the drip edge to pick that up, so, it'd be great to, a lot of people store rainwater, and use it for their garden or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So,
How much of the site will you disturb?
this proposal right now is.
Beyond the, the asphalted grade area, I'm talking about beyond,
This, you mean like impervious area, or?
so where you have gravel parking, outdoor storage,
Yeah.
that white perimeter, how much of that will you disturb?
Right,
Because I
so-
see you have gravel parking storage
Right.
area out back, but I don't see it anywhere else.
It's 32% inside, and the required max, I think, is 60.
So right now, that lot is, scrub,
Yeah.
invasives, blah, blah, blah. Are you going to completely level the lot, disturb the invasives and the scrub?
There is gonna be some cuts and fills. What we'd like to do is, basically, what Wes would like to do is have the opportunity right now, the building, may not be viable to build it tomorrow, but basically do a lot of the site work to prepare this site, do the stormwater management so that everything is in place as far as treating the stormwater, any infiltration that's going to happen, and then basically build the building. Perhaps it's kind of like a long-term plan, more of a 3, 4, 5-year plan, and we're just starting the groundwork right now as far as that goes. So we wanted to get it.
So if you're gonna leave the groundwork, you'll use best management practices to
Absolutely.
stabilize and
Oh, yeah.
erosion control and all that good stuff, okay?
That existing lot looks nice.
This existing lot?
No,
Oh, no, my box, oh, that's
My box.
exceptional, yes, that's, that's,
So,
Not that shop, go down the road and see
oh,
it.
yeah. All right, yeah, I get, people comment to me about it,
yeah.
What do they say?
nice job on the landscaping and the,
Yeah, the landscape.
it's very nice,
really
it's very
good.
attractive commercial lot.
It's all the boxes, yeah.
Well, it's very neat too. I've
It's
had
very
people
neat.
tell me
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
Very neat, yeah.
It is neat.
You should still go with boxes.
I thought you meant
What's that?
this
I
existing.
mean,
Yeah, we know. I'm trying to figure it out.
You should rent out the My Boxes that you can see coming up the hill, you should rent them out as billboards.
Yeah,
That's
right,
nice.
then you'd have a bunch of different color
Sorry.
signs, then you get complaints.
It'd be kind of interesting.
Don't do that, we have to, this room would be
Just a
filled.
thought.
They'd be hanging
I
from non-existent
imagine that.
rafters.
I imagine people would like signs for
No.
certain companies in their yard either.
No, you wouldn't rent those out, you just leave them there.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Stop thinking, we just peel over there doing.
So that's essentially it. We just kind of wanted to get the board's feel as far as the use, if it's something that, felt was appropriate and acceptable. We think it is, we believe it meets all the zoning requirements with the special exception.
Any questions?
Wes is in the middle of, he's looking to purchase this lot, so what he's trying to do is basically just get an idea,
Why not?
you know, whether this is gonna be a use that's gonna be acceptable, you know, just kind of secure his.
Well, that's up to the zoning board of adjustment,
Sure.
right?
Right. As far as that part, right.
So when it comes to us, it's just a matter of site planning it.
Right.
So we don't tell you yea or nay.
No, I know, I'm not, I'm not expecting you to, just.
It's hard when we have conceptuals because you can't site plan
Right.
conceptuals.
Right.
On the other hand,
But the feeling I'm getting from the board is that so far it seems to be an appropriate.
it would
use.
make an ugly lot look good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not concerned with anything per se, but the wetlands buffer, did we discuss that? Sorry. Reading forward, and then the wetlands buffer, and, it says 20 feet. It's supposed to be more than that,
Hmm?
right? Isn't the wetlands buffer supposed to be more than that?
Well, that'll be to be determined by, you know, their scientists, what, you know, we obviously have 100-foot wetlands buffer from some certain water features.
Oh, okay, so they have to still determine where that is.
But this is an open lot.
I just wanted to,
This is 20.
yeah, obviously it's that here.
Yeah.
You know, but before you, keep that in mind,
Right.
so. No surprise in that.
So when you get your, well, if you get your approval from ZBA, because there's wetlands here, we usually, you know, have you go to the Conservation Commission first. They only meet once a month. That's why I'm telling you that, so there's nothing slowing you down.
Surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I don't anticipate any disturbance in the wetlands or the buffer, but, you know, and again, this is preliminary, there may be a few adjustments here or there, but.
I believe they have, don't they have an application on their website?
Yeah, we've actually attached it to our site plan review application. So if you pull our site plan review application from our website,
Oh, you see.
it'll have the Conservation Commission's application on the back, just so that way people who need to go there have that. in
Do
their
they, if there's no impact, do they typically like to see it anywhere? Is it part of the special exception for the zoning board, likes to see their comments, or?
Who can guess?
Yeah. I just don't want to burden them with, you know, hey, here's something that you don't care about, and, you know.
It's a good point. I mean, it would be, I mean, I don't know, what did, Ms. Dawson, what did you say in response to him? I mean,
Who can guess?
okay, yeah, right.
Let's just say it's good.
Yeah,
They
it's
like
not
to
gonna
be-
hurt.
They like to be included.
Yeah, if you fill it out and send it down, and they'll see this, and they'll tell you. They're really good at what they do. They're very good at what they do.
The Conservation Commission.
But I could never second guess them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
This culvert under the tracks exists today, correct?
It does, yeah. So if you have a little bit of, go along with.
So
So we attended the first inspection meeting some time ago, and raised in the business section, people said they would like a social, be more social, this or that. It'd be great to have a coffee shop downtown. We happen to have an empty space next to us. Neither one of us want to, go to school to be a barrister or anything, so on our existing section on the left-hand side, we want to put in a coffee station where it is Keurig's and our
thing that would set us apart from everyone else would be that you can have 25, whatever flavors of Keurig. You can have coffee, tea, hot chocolate, apple cider, and it's in a Keurig. Most people know how to run it, if not, we'll help people. But, you know, we're not interested in becoming baristas and making lattes. And so we would put the coffee station there.
That's highlighted in orange on the
Yeah.
picture.
So we would need to plumb the water there. We need to talk to Al or whoever for that. And there's a setup now, there's a glass case, and the corner glass case would become, we were talking to 603 Candy, and put in her candies and cakes, or whatever she has, we need to discuss with her. You know, she has these chocolate spoons that, you know, would be great in her coffee. So we have, you know, that, and then, but we want to, the space next to us was already at one point opened before. They had closed it up. We just want to open it back up again and use that for additional seating. In the future, there is a kitchen, existing kitchen in that space, and we would like to do some of our own cooking. Not now, but we're trying to be proactive, not reactive, and ask for apologies later. But we want to eventually cook on that side, so we need, you know, the health inspector, we need, talk to Al.
Call the state early on, because that can be a process.
Right.
They can just stop in and let you know when they're up in the area anyway.
Right, so, yeah.
Give you his advice as to what's your easiest way to do it.
On the plan, there's a little green highlight there on the wall between the two spaces. That's the space that she was speaking to that used to actually be an open doorway that connected the two spaces. The landlord has currently blocked it up with some sheetrock. The door frame is still there, but it's some drywall there, so it's pretty easy to open it back up. And I guess the space that has the kitchen used to actually be a taco shop at one point.
Oh, what?
Taco shop?
Yeah, remember when you
I don't remember, was it not?
Oh, I don't remember. I know when Steve was in there.
Didn't last long.
Yeah,
It was a fleeting moment.
Oh, was it fleeting?
It
No,
wasn't a long-term.
there was kind of a little sandwich
Yeah.
coffee tea shop there.
And then I guess it was a tattoo parlor more
Yeah.
recently. Everybody knows the tattoo parlor.
A nightmare.
Clock in or something.
Yeah.
They moved across the street, didn't
No, completely different people.
Okay.
they? Oh, well, see, a lot of.
Completely different.
So anyway.
So as far as I can see, putting in the proposed coffee station now, I don't think that's a big deal.
I don't even see how it's changing use.
No.
We are glad to hear your plans though.
It's
I don't-
as you grow with the other, that you'll have to do a full site plan.
We have already committed to making the other side seating with the owners. So that's why we're actually here, is because we did commit to renting the space next door. We don't want to rent it and be like, no, you can't do that. But, you know, it might help with the seating, it might not help. Hopefully, you know, we'll need the seating.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. But we do want to update the kitchen before we were to do anything of our own cooking.
And you'd have to come back and do site plan for that part, but I don't feel like
So,
that's really need
Not
that
to do
for
what you're
this.
doing now.
So what, so if they were to go and update the kitchen, why would that be?
Why would they have to, because it was already a
There's
previously
already a
restaurant.
kitchen there, they just update it.
Yeah, that's true.
And they had seating there before. But
It
there's
was-
been a
it
food
probably
place a
was
couple
at
of
one
times.
point.
That guy was there, remember, with two big dogs? He was there
That
for a
was
while.
Steve, yeah.
And then somebody else was there.
The Great
Are
Dane.
you right?
Great days.
That's a long time ago, remember?
No, he used to make me tiger chai.
Well, he had good sandwiches too.
He did.
and see where food-driven.
Yeah,
It
with
says you
candy.
currently, it says you currently don't have plans of using the outside, and you said perhaps in the spring you'd put tables inside, and on the back you say none,
Well,
instead of slash possible future.
yeah, none currently, not.
It just seemed like it contradicted the other, because
Right,
this
right.
is pretty precise.
Now, the selectmen, I know in the past have gotten on people about outdoor tables. What is the ordinance on the sidewalks?
Good question.
They'd have to come to the board of selectmen,
We've gone back and forth.
just like
with
you
that.
did with
People
the.
have been out, they've
Know about
had
that.
clothing racks out, they've been told to
Oh.
bring them in, so
It was
it's
way out, so
Oh.
people couldn't pass, and that was the issue.
Oh,
Right, like my thought, if anything, was just like, you know, a very tiny table with a couple chairs next to the building to not block passing. My brother is in a wheelchair and I know how difficult it is for him to get around. And I'm maybe more aware than just a, you know, a person. You know, going places with him is an eye-opener. Frequently.
See that, we should probably look into, I would like to know exactly what the ordinance is.
Yes, I'm
Other people are
curious.
talking about putting cafe tables out there, and we should have cafe
They'd have to come before the board of selectmen,
for each person with,
Yep.
with each, oh,
unless we created an ordinance that allowed it.
oh, we don't allow it now?
No.
I feel like I've seen some ordinance in this
So
document.
nobody's ever had a
Talks
cafe.
There's been a
benches.
couple of them, there's something about, so you're not supposed to write any, we should, I should.
Okay.
I think there's something about the flag heights.
Yeah,
Welcome
I
to
saw
town.
something about benches one time.
There's something, but
Yeah, okay.
if they put them out there without going to the selectmen.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But we could create an ordinance, right?
Pardon?
We could create an ordinance so that,
The board of selectmen can create an ordinance.
or we could, isn't it a zoning thing?
No,
Oh,
the sidewalks belong to are under the jurisdiction of the board of selectmen, just as the town streets are.
okay, can I ask you to work on
You can ask.
All right, it's not one of people.
No,
Go forth and prosper,
that? You said we
So-
should contact the state.
because the state will have to license your kitchen when you get to a full kitchen, not for.
And they'll be very helpful.
But if you're giving out pastries, if you're selling pastries, does the state get involved in that?
Yeah.
No, no, they talked about.
Well, no,
Open up the
they're-
kitchen.
If
No,
they're
but she
selling,
said something about selling other people's other people's food.
603.
if it's not wrapped,
Right.
packaged,
Yeah.
what are those?
You can talk to them.
Hostess?
Yeah, prepackaged.
If they're not prepackaged, you really want to talk to the food service division.
But if they're prepackaged, then you're all set.
If you're buying like Hostess, I think you still have to talk to them. If you're selling food,
Yeah.
I think you still have to talk to them. It's always best. They are great. What's his name?
Bob
Dick
Broder still? No.
Broder.
Did he, he was.
I think he's gonna
Did he
retire.
retire?
He
He's
told me 5
retired.
years ago.
Well, I think he did retire.
I would just check them so you don't have any
Yes, ask them.
surprises. Because when it comes to food, I mean, coffee's one thing, but if you're selling food.
Do you want their number?
But that's not right.
You're bad.
So did I hear correctly that it's the opinion of the board that if these folks want to expand into this other space and do similar activities to what they're doing now, what they've talked about tonight, that the
No
board
site plan.
does not feel site plan review is required? Okay.
Correct,
Thank
because
you.
that's what it was before, so there's no change in use.
Okay, good. Thanks.
So it's just health inspector and
Fire department's gonna have to come in the state.
Ow.
Sales tax, permit.
yeah, we were wondering about sales tax because
Prepared food.
It's food, when you're selling
Food.
coffee to go, it's prepared food.
Yeah, but they're
we're not
selling
preparing it.
coffee cups.
You still sell.
You
Somebody,
might have to, you better check.
Yeah, of
somebody
course, it
prepare
doesn't have
that, so
anything to do
there'll be
with us.
time for
Right.
it.
We shouldn't really talk about it.
Cheaper to find it.
This
I think
Make it
has
more
sales tax.
That's
This
prepared.
does not have sales tax.
They're very good down there.
Very weird.
So would you need it as the service state?
I don't know.
There's a time for the state.
Yeah, ask us.
We don't know that.
They can give you the real details.
We don't want to say.
We can tell you.
Thank you.
certainly could, yeah.
We were wondering, like, okay, so
So
how'd
guide
you
you
work
right
through
through
it,
it.
you get
I
it,
don't know, things happen, so they'll help you.
make it.
Yeah,
And no films.
That's what they're talking about, so.
like you're talking about something.
Right, well, that's something that we'll have to
Yeah.
fine, it's not your job, and
You gotta learn
Right, I was here.
Congratulations. Have a good day.
Side note, you're
Yeah. The health officer.
officer, so we need to speak to you, I would imagine, at some point about this.
This is groceries in yours.
Maybe. It depends on how far they get into it. Sometimes they call me and send me over. Sometimes they go themselves, so you may end up seeing me.
So we start with them
You
first.
start with them.
Okay.
It's always be right with the state.
Anyway,
You can be wrong with me and I'll work with you. It's always be right with the
We have
state.
8 things in that
Enjoy
shop.
your day.
I gotta come in here, I've been on vacation, so I couldn't.
Remember one word, Darjeeling.
Actually, tea. We love tea, yeah. Like, I have to have my coffee in the morning, but then tea.
I've never drank a cup of coffee. My other one's Assam.
I just see the other ones down
It's been a long time.
No,
It's never been
no,
so
so-
good.
6 years.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I cooked that, that's, no, 6
What
years.
should we expect the coffee?
Sounds like we have to wait for the state, right, for the coffee, or?
Not with coffee.
No.
Any food, food.
I would call the state before you do anything about serving beverage or food to the public.
Okay.
Trust me, you don't want them
Yeah.
So-
angry at you.
No.
We're amateurs. Call that number. They have tons of literature.
They
They're
would want
so
to take
helpful.
The only requirement to be on this board is to be elected.
They're so helpful. You'll be very pleased to call them.
So, motion to adjourn.
No.
No.
Dory, what do we have for correspondence?
Okay, well, we also have the change of use review form from Tilton Fireworks.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Anxious to visit.
You just, hope you weren't too old.
It was
It
actually
was quite
entertaining.
interesting.
Yeah, that's a weird.
I was not envious of your job.
So we're not gonna get you to sit on the board anymore.
So
We have openings.
yeah. Tilton Fireworks wants to also store 100 cars in their parking lot. So you guys have copies of the change of use review form, and then I went and took an aerial, image off Google Earth, and then I made a copy of a site plan of theirs from, I think, 2015. And I guess, I'm assuming you guys are probably seeing the same thing I am. It's hard to see how 100 cars is going to fit on that paved area. So I think we need to I recommend that we require a site plan review on that. I mean, I just don't see how it's,
Absolutely.
It's an
We
odd
can change
thing.
it.
or at least,
I don't
yeah,
think they really ought to come in with this.
right.
Everybody agree?
I'm supposed to count the X's.
X is only equal 51, so that doesn't help.
Oh, sorry, you did it.
I did.
Well, there's not a lot of tax, there's a lot of ticks, but there's no tax.
That's easy.
Do we have any other correspondence?
Yeah, we've got, and one of these, these just came to me. I just have one on top I haven't even, honestly, I just put it in your folder. Jeannie gave it to me this morning and I just popped it right in
Unregistered vehicles there.
Officer of overflow.
You already have them there, that's the problem.
It's too far.
Yeah, so, tomorrow, or as soon as I get back to the office, I'm going to
Back to the office, you haven't left.
what's that?
He sleeps under the stage.
Said you're going back to the office, you haven't left.
I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. When I get back, we can immediately address those cars that are sitting there. In fact, maybe Al can get started on that tomorrow.
Could you
So, yeah.
fix your hair tomorrow?
We're aware that the cars are already there. What did you say? Are you making fun of my hair?
I said maybe you should fix your hair tomorrow too.
Yeah, I don't know what, I need a mirror. I don't know what the hair thing is, honestly.
Maybe it's in the
You
back
usually
here.
comb it
I
back.
think, no, I know what it is. I ran out of my usual product.
Oh
And I
my
used
God,
a
I'm
different
so sick
product,
of hearing that
so-
word as it pertains to hair. What is this
Product.
product thing? Product.
Hair gel.
That's not for
Product.
sale. Not for
And
sale.
then-
They jack up the
Not for
price.
sure.
and all
All I
that.
can think of is video 5.
They triple the price and call it product.
And then we have a bunch of plans from the Milford Trust, the, I don't know what we want to call it.
On the Camelot home.
Yeah, thank you, to be signed. And that's all I got.
Well, that's signed by the chairman and the secretary, so have that.
We're off the hook.
Motion to adjourn now?
Is that everything, Ms. Godard?
I think so, yeah.
Why is the planning board interested in air resources division evaluation?
Okay, sorry, like I said, I just stuck that in there. Jeannie handed it to me this morning and I just put it in your folder. I really haven't had a chance to even look at it, so.
Oh, all right.
It shouldn't be there, just,
I don't know, I
Yeah,
was
that
just trying to figure out if I needed to read this right now.
I read it as a selectman.
When you're figuring out the sidewalks. All right,
Well,
people.
go buy your product.
Motion
Yeah,
to
all right.
adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion?
Yeah, let's discuss it.
Well, that was only 2 hours, that was pretty quick.
Only, 2 hours of our life we can never get back.
It's okay.